So you want to get rich and you want to do it as fast as possible. There are some ways to do it that are dark and that I have done, and I thought I shouldn't make this video because when you finish watching this, you're going to probably see me a little bit differently. There's 10 things that you need to do that aren't pleasant and dark and go against everything that you've been told. They are not conventional. They are not fun. They do not feel good. They are things that you're going to have to do. They are sacrifices you're going to have to make, and they're not very nice, to be completely honest. Like, they kind of suck. But I did them, and they made me $30 million. What, do you think it was going to be easy? Like, you want to get rich, you want to become a millionaire, you want to build a business, you want to be free. Did you think it was going to be like a happy-go-lucky, pleasant ride? Look at anyone throughout history that's achieved anything of significance ever, whether it's economic or political or social. Like, everything's been built off the back of some dark shit. And that's just me being honest with you. So there's 10 things you got to do, and they're all a little bit dark. The first one is stop believing in yourself. Oh, didn't see that one coming. Look, the truth is that if you were the person capable of achieving what you wanted to achieve, you would have already done it. You, yourself, you are pretty much worthless. And I don't mean that in a pointing the finger egotistical way. You don't have any skills, you don't have any value, you don't have any experience. You're not if you were deserving of success, you'd already be successful. You don't deserve it. That's why you don't have it. So why would you believe in yourself? This is why people have so much, and don't worry, I'm going to give you a caveat to this to not completely cripple your emotions. The problem is like, you're not good. You know what you're doing. So why would you place faith and belief in someone that doesn't know what they're doing? It would be like, take a friend that you know that's a bit stupid and a bit goofy. Would you believe in them and their ability to build a company? Well, of course you wouldn't, because they don't have the skills and the capabilities to do it. And you probably don't either, right? So the point I'm making here is, instead of believing in yourself, what you want to do is you want to believe in your ability to become the person that can get it done. And what this looks like is, look at what you want, look at your goal, look at what success looks like, and then ask yourself, like, what qualities or characteristics would I need to have to achieve that? So let's say, for example, you wanted to build a multi-six-figure consulting business, or a multi-six-figure dropshipping business, or a seven-figure company. You probably need to know how to sell, persuade, communicate, etc. And you probably don't know how to do that right now. So what you need to do is you need to have faith in the person that you are becoming. So you believe in yourself, but only insofar as you believe in your ability to become the person that can. The reason you have so much crippling doubt and fear and terror about becoming successful is because you're backing the wrong horse. You're backing a slow horse, yourself. Believe in who you are becoming. If you want to achieve a goal, you have to achieve a character, right? You become the person that can, and then lo and behold, it happens because you can make it happen. So stop believing in yourself, believe in who you're becoming. Still, it's kind of you, but just you in the future with more skills and more abilities. The second thing is stop manifesting. So we've all heard of this law of attraction thing, right? It doesn't work. I can tell you it doesn't work because I tried it for years, and then I tried something else, and I'll tell you what works. This whole notion that the universe is this benevolent force that just wants to give you things is a load of rubbish. You know that Rocky quote, like, the world is a very mean and nasty place and it will beat you to your knees and keep you there if you let it? That's kind of the way the world works. Like, the universe doesn't just give you things. It takes things and then it gives you things in return. And I'm sick of this notion being peddled in this online internet space, money space, of just manifest, bro, and just, believe and you will achieve, and if you can see it, you can have it. Like, it's all rubbish. The thing is people talk about the law of attraction, right? This whole idea of attraction, but really, it's the law of action. If you want to get things, then you have to do things. A lot of people, what they'll do is I saw this video that someone sent me on social media of this girl in a park, just screaming it. She had her head up in the sky, and she was just screaming at the sky, like, I am attracting abundance. It's like, all you're attracting is weird men that are just, into that. I don't know. So it's not about the law of attraction, it's about the law of action, which means if you want to get something, if you want to manifest something, the only way that's going to happen is through laborious, hard work. for years and years on end. You can't just talk about it and have it happen. This is this weird female bias as well. I see this mainly with girls who are like, oh yes, I'm just manifesting, babe. But like, if you track commercial success against the masculine realm and the feminine realm, the masculine beats the feminine every single time. This is why there's way more male CEOs. It's why most companies are male led. It's why men have more money than women. Like, not to get political here, but men tend to have a better success rate. We do, biologically speaking, like socially speaking, the stats are there. We make more money than women. And I can't help but think that part of that is because of this idea for women that it's all about just feeling and just letting it happen. And I think a lot of guys are guilty of this as well. And I'm not saying it's like just a female thing. It's not exclusively just to women. But if you want commercial success and if you want to build money and wealth and financial freedom, it's not something that just happens. It's not, you can't just sit up and look at the sky and expect it to come to you. It takes action. So stop trying to attract and start trying to act. And actually, something might actually start happening in your life. And that wasn't supposed to be alliterative, but it was. The third thing, which is also a little bit dark, is you are not, emphasis on not, good enough. So, you've probably been told by society and your parents and your friends and your schools and your teachers and the government, everyone tells you, oh, you're good enough, just be happy with who you are and just be authentic and just be who you were meant to be, darling. Same scenario, you're not good enough. You're good enough to have what you have now, but if you want what you want, you must deserve what you want, because the world is not yet a crazy enough place to reward a whole bunch of undeserving people. There's a Charlie Munger quote for you right there, and he was a billionaire, and he was pretty right about pretty much everything he ever did. If you were good enough to have what you wanted to have, then you'd already have it. For example, I make 8 figures. I live in a mansion in the sun in Dubai. I've got a team of 30 people. I'm healthy, I'm happy, I've got a great social life. My life's pretty damn good. And the reason that my life's pretty damn good is because I'm good enough to have it. I spent basically a decade of my life suffering for this, and now I suddenly became someone that was actually capable of doing something. But what happens is in order for you to succeed and transcend your current situation, you have to transcend yourself. You have to become someone new. And if you've got this notion in your head that you're already there, then you're not going to try, you're not going to change. And, if you want to change your circumstances, you have to change yourself. And I can tell you right now that what you have right now in life is exactly what you deserve. There might be a little bit of lag and latency, but for the most part, for almost all of you, what you have is reflective of what you've given and what you've sacrificed, right? The fourth thing is you should compare yourself to others. So another happy-go-lucky notion that we all seem to have in modern society is, oh, don't compare yourself to others, and comparison is the thief of joy. Well, let me tell you something for a second here. If you want to get rich and if you want to build a business, you're going to have to sacrifice your happiness for the next 5 to 10 years. And that's just me being honest with you. They say comparison is the thief of joy, but are you optimizing for joy? I saw a Mr. Beast podcast episode the other day, and someone asked him about his mental health. And they said, how's your mental health? And he said, if I was concerned about my mental health, that if my mental health was more of a priority, I wouldn't be so successful. And I resonated with that because it's true. Like, it's not like the whole getting rich thing is a horrible process. It sucks. It's like really painful, and it's psychologically damaging, and it's not fun. And I don't get this whole just be happy, you should just be happy. It's like, name me one great man through history that's actually truly been just optimizing for happiness and joy. Happiness is not this, it shouldn't, if you want to get rich and be really successful and great, you can do that whilst being happy. I'm not saying you shouldn't be happy. I'm not saying you should be depressed or miserable. I'm just saying that you're going to have to do things that temporarily make you unhappy. For example, this whole comparing yourself to others thing, right, that you can see on the screen here. It's a competitive game. You're against people. You're going to have competitors who are going to try and take clients from you, who are going to have better products, better marketing, better sales teams, better systems, better infrastructure. And if you just bury your head in the sand and be like, oh, I'm in a league of my own, I don't compare myself to anyone, it's like, well, then you're in trouble. You know, it's kind of like trying to get into business and not wanting to compare yourself to people would be like trying to get into competitive bodybuilding and not comparing yourself to people. Because how do you win in bodybuilding? Well, you have a better physique than everybody else. And how do you know if you've got a better physique than everybody else? Well, you compare your physique to everybody else's. So this lovely notion, you know, you shouldn't compare yourself to other people, but success isn't lovely. So, you know, I wouldn't bother trying to do that. You know, it should piss you off. Like if someone's got more than you, you should go on Instagram with your shitty life and scroll through people with good lives and get pissed off. It should annoy you. You should compare yourself to them. It's indicative of a need that you have to grow and get better, man. So, you know, this is the big one. Sit with anxiety or depression. Now, I have been anxious before. I don't think I've had clinical depression, but I've definitely had periods where I've been very down. And look, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not an expert in men's mental health. But what I can tell you is that if you are anxious or you are depressed, then you have got a very good reason to get to work and do things. Anxiety and depression are, to me, you know, I've got a very practical notion of these, and a lot of people will disagree with me, and that's totally fine. To me, these things are like reasons to work, you know, because basically these are symptoms. Okay, everyone thinks that anxiety and depression are the diseases, but really, to me, they're the symptoms that something is seriously wrong. You know, I heard a quote once. I can't remember where it was from. It said, "You're not." It's just like a thing about young men with anxiety. You know, because what happens? A lot of people they get anxious, they get depressed, they just roll over, and they just admit defeat to these illnesses, and they just become very docile, and they just let these illnesses just run them over. And I heard a quote once saying, "You're not anxious, you're just playing a competitive game and you're losing." And for men, anxiety can often manifest because your perspective of where you sit on the social hierarchy is too low. And that is a very reductive way to look at anxiety and men's mental health. Of that I am well aware. And there are probably genuine cases of real clinical anxiety that come from biological means, and I'm not trying to discredit anyone's mental illness here. But a lot of the time, if a man is experiencing anxiety or depression, it's not because he's anxious or depressed, but just because he has a shit life. And that's his own fault. You know, if you're out of shape, if you're broke, if you've got no friends, if you have no female prospects, if you're like, of course you're upset. Of course you're anxious. Of course you feel worried and nervous. And of course you feel, you know, sad. It's like, sometimes it's not because sometimes the reason you have anxiety or depression is because you have a bad life, not because you have anxiety or depression. Like, typically, like, imagine this for me. Let's say that you have a bit of a proclivity towards anxiety or depression right now. And let's say that, you know, you feel a little anxious, a little depressed. If I gave you a successful business with meaningful work and great people to be around and work, if I gave you a fully healthy, like, well-structured social life, if I gave you a healthy, clean body full of, you know, vitamins and just like, you know, you look in great shape with great health and perfect sleep and everything, and then if I also gave you like a woman to love or a man to love or whatever you're into, and like a meaningful, deep relationship, would you still be as anxious or depressed? No, you wouldn't. Like, you know, yeah, sure, then maybe you have a biological, you know, reason to suffer, but that's rare, very rare. And I think that a lot of these, like, you don't want, I mean, this is my thing. I've been anxious and I've had, not depression, but I've had very sad times in my life. And what I've always done is, instead of rolling over and taking pills or talking about it in therapy for hours and hours on end, I've got to work. And I've seen these diseases as being symptomatic of a further problem in my life. And I've usually found that by fixing those problems, the anxiety and depression goes away. They're signals. It's your brain telling you that things aren't good. And so you want to sit with them, you want to process them, you want to feel them, you want to deal with them. You don't want to bury them away. But the way you get them to go away is by fixing your life, not by just taking some medicine. Trust me. Like, this might not be true for everybody, but I can only tell you my experience. And you might disagree, and, you know, maybe I'll get a message from a female friend from 5 years ago saying, I can't believe what you said about that. That's fine, but this is just what's worked for me, right? I'm not saying it'll work for everyone. Number 6, stop living. I need to stop living in the moment. So this is another bias. This is kind of dark, right? Everyone's like, oh, you just need to live in the moment, you just need to be present, and you just need to be here in the now, and just business is delayed gratification. Success is by its purest nature delayed gratification. It's impossible to succeed without things taking time, right? And so when someone says like, oh, I just live in the present, or I'm just living in the moment, what that usually means is they are living in hedonistic pleasure, and they're just giving in to their immediate psychological desires and impulses in the here and now. All of my life, I lived in the present moment for the future. And that's pretty much any entrepreneur's existence. Anyone that's done anything significant with their life or has achieved anything spends all of their time in the present or in the moment thinking about the future, or trying to avoid making mistakes that then manifest in the past. And there's no time for this. Do you want to get rich? Do you want to be successful? You can't afford to do the partying and the drinking and the drugs and the alcohol and the random trips here and there and the stuff just to be in the present moment. I'm not saying you shouldn't meditate. I'm not saying you shouldn't take a moment to be in the moment. I'm just saying that you shouldn't optimize your brain and your life and your time to be in the here and now all the time. You need to be almost living in the future and thinking about the future and constantly, trying to draw that forward. What I want to say is all of this advice only applies if you're seeking extreme commercial success. So, if you want to have like a normal life, just like a normal, standard, average, mediocre life, it's absolutely fine. You don't have to do these things. But if you want to experience any level of, abnormal commercial abundance, which is millions and millions of dollars, then these things become pretty necessary. And you have to unsubscribe to the newsletter, so to speak, of society. Number 7 is sacrifice everything. Not your religion, not your mother, not your health, anything that isn't one of those 3 things, family, body, and God, has to be put on the fire. There isn't much time for anything. If you want to get it done properly, you're going to have to get rid of friends. If you want to get it done properly, you're going to have to get rid of people, people in your life that don't serve you. You're going to have to get rid of everything. Like, when I think back to everything that I sacrificed, I've sacrificed everything for my goal. The only thing that I have really that is outside of my work is my relationship with God, my family and my relationship with my family, my body and my health and my mind, because I still take good care of myself, and my very limited and small social circle. That's it. Anything that isn't that has been thrown on the fire. All addictions, all junk, anything else has been gone. And I don't make time for anyone else or anything else except for my work and my goal. And, this is the thing about becoming successful. That quote in Interstellar at the end, maybe you haven't seen the movie, but it's like, one thing humans haven't figured out how to do is get somewhere without leaving something behind. It's kind of like the fundamental law of propulsion, basically. Get rid of everything, sacrifice everything, remove everything. Like, all these things that you think you need, you don't need them. Like, you need a bed and a desk, clean running water, a roof over your head, a decent social life, a family, and your body. Like, everything else can be pretty much sacrificed, right? There's going to be a few things here and there that you might want to keep, but video games, junk food, pornography, the news, social media, anything that isn't the work or a fundamental biological or psychological need should be sacrificed. And the more you sacrifice, the more you give, the more you'll get. Trust me. Like, billionaires are masters of sacrifice, basically. Yeah, so this is an interesting one. So number 8 is, this whole idea of you have all the time in the world. That whole idea when you're like 20 and then all your grandparents are like, oh, like the world's your oyster, like you've got all the time in the world, just go traveling. It's not right, man. Like, you don't have all the time in the world. Like, if you go and look at the history of the cosmos, we don't have much time. We've been given this gift of life, this remarkable, consciousness that we get to experience. And like, you don't really have any time. You've got maybe like 80, 90 years max, and you're probably already 20, right? Or around that age. So let's say you make it to like the median average age in the US or the West, which is probably like 85 or something. Like, you've probably only got like, 60 years left, 50 years left? That's not much. Like, you know, you really don't have much time at all. This notion that you've got all the time in the world, like sometimes I get like sad thinking how little time I have. Because here's the thing is like, how much time is proportion to ambition. And so, for example, I'm very ambitious insofar as that I want to build a massive multi-billion-dollar corporation, be hugely successful, and, you know, accrue tons of wealth and be really successful and influential. And the thing about that is, if my goal was just to make six figures, then I've got all the time in the world, because it doesn't take that much time to do that. But to build a massive enterprise with real, true commercial value, that takes a long time. And so suddenly the compression time frame window seems so severe because I want to do so much in what little time I have. And how much time you have is indicated by how much you want to do. Kind of like, let's say that you're going to Paris for 3 days and you want to see 30 different tourist attractions. Suddenly you have no time at all. But if you go to Paris for 3 days and you just want to see the Eiffel Tower, now you've got all the time in the world, because it's what you want to do compared to how much time you have, if that makes sense. So you do not have all the time in the world. Stop using that as an excuse to go to Bali and just mess around with people on surfboards on the beach, because you will regret it if you want to be rich. Once again, this does not apply if you're not interested in building genuine commercial value. Number 9, it's not going to be okay. You know, I had this friend once who was a girl, and I was going through a bit of a tough time, and bless her, she was so sweet. And she used to tell me, like, it's okay to not be okay, and, you know, everything's going to be fine, like, it's all going to be okay in the end. And I appreciated the sentiment, and I think that's a nice thing for her to say. But when it comes to business struggles, and when it comes to, you know, commercial struggles, you know, enterprise struggles in the company or with money, it's not going to be okay. Like, if you've got a problem and you just, if someone, right, put it this way. Imagine you go to a doctor and you have pancreatic cancer, right? The hardest cancer to cure. What the doctor's not going to do is tell you, don't worry, you're going to be fine, it's all going to be okay. Because what happens when they do that is they basically invite complacency into your life. Like, now suddenly you're like, oh, I'm going to be fine anyway, so it's fine. But what a doctor does is they empathetically stress the severity and the gravity of the health situation at hand. And that then encourages you and forces you by nature to take action to solve the problem. If you have a business problem, or if you're broke or poor, like right now you might be broke and someone might say, oh, it's okay, you know, it's all going to be okay, everything's going to work itself out in the end. No. Things will only work themselves out in the end if you work. And the only reason you're going to work is because you believe that the only way it's going to work is if you work. But if you fall yourself into this comfort trap of thinking like, oh, I'm going to be fine, then you're screwed. Then you'll never be fine, because you're never going to do anything. So anytime someone tells you that it's going to be okay, it's like, it's not. It's like, you know, like when I've had like personal problems before, like mental health problems, and someone's like, oh, it's all going to be okay. It's like, yes, it will be if I do something to fix it. So you don't want to invite this little complacent statement into your life. It's a dangerous thing. And then the last one is this idea that everything happens for a reason. So you know this statement, which is kind of like, oh, everything happens for a reason. Like, you know, yes, it does. It's cause and effect, right? But what a lot of people say is they say everything happens for a reason, but they think it's this like mystical woo-wah thing that's out of their control. Everything in the universe is cause and effect. Everything happens because something else happened. It's like the laws of physics and nature. And if your life is in a bad situation, like I see this where people justify things where like someone will make a really bad decision and a series of terrible mistakes and end up in a really shitty place in their life. And what someone will tell them, or what they'll tell themselves, is, oh, everything happens for a reason. And they'll comfort themselves with the fact that this thing has happened. And what happens when you believe this everything happens for a reason idea is you basically are telling yourself that you are a victim of the universe. Like, oh, I'm in this bad situation because of some reason. No, the reason is you. Like, you are where you are because you put yourself there. It's nothing else other than that. There's no magical, mystical force. I mean, yeah, God, the universe, whatever you want to believe in. But in my opinion, you do everything to yourself. And it's very stupid and idiotic to do something stupid, make bad decisions, like getting fat, or getting into a terrible relationship, and then facing the consequences of those, and then just saying the reason that you're in a bad place is because of some reason. No, it's you did it. And as soon as you absolve yourself of the responsibility or personal accountability for the outcomes of your existence, then you're in some deep trouble. That's when you get the depression, anxiety that you cannot solve, because as far as you're concerned, it's the reason. And because you can't see the reason or define the reason, why would you even try and fight it? So that's 10 things. They're dark. They're not fun. Success isn't this fun journey. I know you've seen the movies and you've read the books, and God forbid you've seen the lifestyle vlogs. Sucks, man. It's not fun. It is fun because, you know, you get to get really rich with the boys and create lots of value, and you get all these shiny objects from it. But, you know, this isn't for everyone. I think people understand this with like athletes. Like, I think you'd understand that if you wanted to be like a professional athlete, you've got to go through pain and you've got to go through real trial and struggle. And, you know, we get that. If you want to be a pro boxer, it's really difficult. If you wanted to be like a pro basketball player, it's really difficult. It's competitive, etc., etc. You know, if someone got bronze medal at the Olympics, or let's say someone came 4th place at the Olympics, no one would turn around at that person and say, oh, don't worry, mate, everything happens for a reason. No, they'd all understand you got out-competed by 3 other people and you deserve to be in 4th because that's exactly where you are, right? In sports, this makes a lot of sense, but in business, everyone seems to misunderstand this thing because it's more abstract. So just bear these things in mind as you're on your journey towards success, because I learned them along the way, and it's been a decade now, and I certainly have far less patience for all these, you know, lovely little notions of happiness. Like, they're not real. They'll screw you over. Bye.